Before we get started, I just want to send a message to the entire I Was Supposed to Have a Baby community that lives in Israel or anywhere in the Middle East. We are here for you. We are thinking of you. We are praying for your safety and for peace. And we know that your lives have been completely disrupted. You're running in and out of shelters. You are trying to prepare for Pesach at the same time. There's a lot that all of you are holding right now in addition to trying to build your family. If there is anything that we can do to support you, please reach out. We are here for you and we're sending you our love. Okay, so if you're an avid listener of I Was Supposed to Have a Baby and you're specifically interested in surrogacy, you know that we've got 9 episodes at this point, all on different aspects of surrogacy. We've had it from the viewpoint of parents that don't have any children. We've had it from the viewpoints of parents that have had children already and are using surrogacy to have another child. We've spoken to individuals who were the gestational carrier. Our last conversation was with the gestational carrier and the person who wanted the pregnancy, wanted the baby, the intended parent. Now we're having a brand new angle on surrogacy. Most of these episodes are centered on the woman's experience. What is she going through? How is she feeling? What does the surrogate feel? All of the different pieces surrounding the mother. But the question is what about the father? What is the father feeling around all these issues? What is the father going through? In this really, I think, lovely and really important conversation, Aliza Konig, our surrogacy consultant, interviews her husband. And the two of them have this really powerful conversation on what it was like for both of them to go through this experience, but more from the lens of her husband, Sam, and hearing his side of the story. So take a listen. If there are other men in your life who you think would want to be interviewed, let us know. We'd love to hear from them as well. Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Barron, the founder and executive director of the nonprofit I Was Supposed to Have a Baby. On this podcast, I invite different people to join me in conversations about infertility, pregnancy loss, infant loss, surrogacy, adoption, and so much more. We laugh, we cry, and we challenge the Jewish community to think differently about a topic that has been shrouded in secrecy and shame for so long. So join me as we talk away the taboo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aliza Abrams-Konig. This is my husband, Sam Konig, and I am the surrogacy consultant for I Was Supposed to Have a Baby. I created the community of Jewish families and individuals going through surrogacy after our first child was born via surrogate. Personally, I had a kidney transplant 8 years ago, and due to my health, was unable to carry children. And together, we went through surrogacy twice. We have 2 beautiful children, thank God. And over the last 7 or so years, I've been doing a lot of advocacy work and education work and speaking about surrogacy and raising awareness in the Jewish community about the option for surrogacy. And I have a WhatsApp group that we run that has over 125 people in it. It's a support group. It's about information sharing. It's a really amazing space. And I certainly would not have been able to do that without the support of my husband. But our experiences with surrogacy are very different. And what I wanted to do was interview my husband, Sam, and get his perspective on what it's like to be a husband and a father going through surrogacy. So first, I'm going to just ask Sam to give a really hard answer, actually. I've always been the more vocal one in our relationship about surrogacy. And even before I gave my first talk, we really had a long conversation about it because you weren't comfortable with me sharing so publicly. So if you can maybe share why you feel less comfortable being public about our surrogacy journeys.
Right. Again, thank you so much for having me here today. So I think it's 2 things. First and foremost, you alluded it in your initial introduction, is that you do feel the support in terms of talking about surrogacy. And I think that that's my role. So you can be a silent partner, and there's the emphasis on partner. So I do feel that my role is to be a silent partner and to support you in your endeavors, because you feel that's important here to educate people and to raise awareness about this journey. Second of all, our kids are young, and it's also their story, right? It's their story to tell, and they weren't really involved in this situation, right? This was, I wouldn't say it's a negative thing, but it was brought to them. And I think it's important that they tell the story. Obviously, they're still young and they don't necessarily have the nuance and the vocabulary, but I think it's also privacy to some extent. And also, we live in a world now, and especially in the Jewish world, not because it's Jewish, it's just because we live in a community and people talk, right? And people talk at Shabbos dinners, and I just wanna, I guess I guess there's a parent in me in terms of want to protect them, but at the same time, it's out there. But I think we have the right balance. I think you are the person out there speaking about it, and I've never said no to you. So that's also important to emphasize. I've never said no to you. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. So it was a big deal to get Sam to be a part of this conversation, but I'm really happy they have the opportunity. And part of why I wanted to interview Sam is because so many of the interviews that I've done and podcast recordings for I Was Supposed to Have a Baby and other organizations are very much focused on the female experience with surrogacy. So I wanted to, again, get your male perspective on it. If you can take us back to the beginning when surrogacy first became part of our conversation to having a child, which obviously was in the midst of my health crisis. What did you think? What were you honestly thinking about when we first said, okay, we're going to go through surrogacy?
I think that two things. I thought that having a family is a very easy process. You meet somebody, you attempt to make a family, and then the baby just, I guess, pops up. I thought it's part of the journey of becoming a married man, right? There's not so much, because again, it's not like we have been married forever, but guys, and again, I can only speak to my experience, guy talk, you don't talk about marriage and kids and fertility issue, especially before marriage, right? That's not necessarily a conversation you have as a single man or somebody who's dating somebody, right? Fertility issue is not necessarily a topic of discussion at the, when guys go out. Maybe some do, but in my circles, there wasn't necessarily a conversation we had. So what I'm saying is that I wasn't prepared for this, right? It wasn't part of the prep talk vis-a-vis my parents or vis-a-vis friends and so forth. So that's number one. And number two, I think that at the end of the day, I kept saying it to you, at the end of the day, it's the result that matters, right? At the end of the day, we have two healthy babies, as you said. Yes, the journey was a little bit longer, and in our case, it continued because it wasn't just IVF. With some families, IVF have become very common, but then it not stops there, but that's when I guess the children come, right? Our continued, so it was a longer journey, and also with some expectations, because I think the challenge is that at a certain point you don't control anymore because you're not the one, or we're not the one carrying the baby. But I think it was just I haven't really heard about it, right? And if I did hear about it, more about celebrities, right? Kardashians and others doing it. So I think it was positive. Now we became also famous and popular, and if celebs can do it, we can do it. So I think it's really those two things.
It's unfortunate we didn't have the celebrity budget to do it, though.
Right.
If only Kim Kardashian had bankrolled us, we'd be in a different place right now.
Yes.
But anyways, what is something about the surrogacy journey that people assume was easy for you, maybe, but actually wasn't? Meaning you just talked about you think you just get married to get pregnant. So what would be something about the surrogacy piece that was even harder than people expect?
I mean, I think that the first part is that at the end of the day, right, you almost like, as a husband, you almost like remove, during the actual pregnancy, you are removed by two, right? Because, at the end of the day, the surrogate is the patient, right, in the delivery room. So obviously the physician has to focus on the patient, right? But then you have the intended parent with us, you have the mom and the dad. So it's almost like when you have to look at maybe I wouldn't say it's a pecking order, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure the patient, the pregnant woman, is safe, right? That it's a safe delivery. So obviously the focus has to be, but the communication has to be with the parents, because at the end of the day, the baby's ours already prior to the birth, the baby's already ours. legally. But then there's the mom, which is the, and then when they like not, there's a traditional sense to it, right? There's mommy and daddy. So, then when the doctor talks to you, right, he tries to talk to both of us, but really he's talking to the surrogate and he's talking to the mom, right? And then I come in. So I think people don't realize that, yeah, we are a unit, but at the end of the day, it's almost like I'm secondary, but not in a negative way. It's just, it is what it is, right? I remember even our first pregnancy, the challenge we had, this hospital was less flexible, right, in terms of who can enter the delivery room, right? Usually it's in a normal situation, not normal, but in a conventional situation, right? It's the mother and the partner, right? The husband. In our case, right, it was the surrogate, and then you got the second band, right? So, and obviously I wanted you to have it, so I didn't have it. So I'm saying, like, people don't necessarily realize, yes, we did it together, but the focus is on you, and it should be on you. That's where we men, in this case, just have to take our ego aside and say what's most important for the situation. And it's important that the mother is completely, integrated and fully, and at the same time, it makes sense because you're the one who also was in communication with the surrogate throughout the whole process, right? So, it's just part of the package. It's not like you're putting more effort in. We just have different roles in this case. So your role is to be the lead or point of contact when it comes to the physician and when it comes to the surrogate, and it's natural.
Right. It was actually, just because you mentioned the hospital bracelets, it was a very surprising thing I think that we hadn't thought about was when they handed us the hospital bracelets and it had only the surrogate's name on it. It didn't even have our names on it. Right. And that was hard as the parents to be wearing a bracelet that had somebody else's name with our baby's name. It was hard for me. I don't know if
And I also think, maybe I'm wrong, the second pregnancy I think was very different in terms of, I wouldn't say level of professionalism, but just level of nuance when it comes to how do you package everything. But I think even our son on his bracelet actually had the last name. No. I just remember there was,
well, it had her name on the hospital bracelet.
Exactly. Right. That so he had. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Her name was on his hospital bracelet. Yeah. It is very difficult.
But I think the second pregnancy wasn't like that at all.
It was a different hospital.
Different route. We also ended up on a different floor than in the first one we were right next to her.
Right. We were with the second pregnancy. We were in labor and delivery or recovery or whatever it's called, postpartum. But I think the surrogate was not in that section. They just kind of moved her out to a regular recovery room, which helped because we never saw her.
So I think and it depends also, what if those hospitals have had those experiences before. It just depends on the, in this case, right? Even I think the main nurse said this. She has never done this before, and remember, like at the end of the day, she became an ally. But in the beginning, she was like educating with, like, we have a pregnancies taking place and the nurse is asking all these questions. And I'm like, this is not the moment, for us to educate, at the end of the day, she understood. And I wouldn't say anything was apologetic, but she tried to overcome it. She was an expert on the different type of car seats. So I feel like she felt responsibility to help us out. We had that fancy, at the time it was like fancy, that Duna. Now everybody has it, but it was fun to see how she really, we got close to her. In the beginning there was a reservation.
Right. Well, it was also, she ended up delivering our baby.
Right.
Our baby came really quickly and there was no doctors in the room. And the nurse turned to me and said, could you put those gloves on my hand? Because this baby's coming right now.
Right. So maybe that was the bond. So that's where we bonded with her.
Yeah, we definitely bonded with her. And then we couldn't figure out how the wheels went down on the Duna. And she helped us figure that out.
Yes.
Okay. Was there a specific moment that you remember during the process of expecting our children when you thought, wow, this is really happening. We're really becoming parents. So maybe more in the first one, or when we were having our second one, wow, we're really having our second child.
Right. I mean, the first one, right? The first one was a little bit distant because we haven't experienced it, right? And it was actually, the process actually started on my birthday, right? Because our son was born the next day in the early
20
morning.
Minutes later,
right.
after Yeah.
So we did like a quasi celebration where I think we went to like Starbucks, and you got a cake for
Well,
me.
we were in a place that had no kosher food
Right,
available, so I
right.
got like an Entenmann's cake, and
Anthony's cake,
Starbucks got
and
me for your
also
birthday.
that time we haven't gone to the movies for a long time, so it's like there was nothing else to do but to go to the movies
Yeah.
up to. So
We saw 3 movies that week because we were out there waiting for quite some time for our son to be born, and so
Right.
all we could do was go to the movies and go to Barnes & Noble.
So I'm not saying my birthday it was a beautiful birthday present, but it was like it almost like I didn't know what to expect. The first birth also went much faster, right? It's not like, because it was in the evening, the process started. It was probably only like 4 or 5 hours, the first one, so it went much faster.
Right, the induction went faster.
Much faster. Whereas the second one, it just took forever, and it was like a whole day. And plus, we already had the first child, so I would say it was like both managing everything. And again, I'm looking this. I'm sure this is. I mean, but this. Why am I sharing this with you? Because even if the woman there is a stranger, like it's. I'm experiencing pregnancy, you know, so I'm experiencing the same experience, you know, as a father, at least, right? Again, the woman is a strange woman, but it's happening, right? I'm not the one who gives who gives birth, obviously, right? It's another person. So yeah. So I would say, yeah,
Just when the baby was born, it was like
it was real, right?
Yeah.
And I'm also putting the baby. I mean, I guess what the point I'm making is that even if it's not necessarily a conventional pregnancy, it's the same experience in the sense as, you know, you have the baby do skin to skin, the baby comes out, looks exactly like you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's the saying. At that point, once the baby is out, I would say it's like the same again for the man, because I know for women it might be a little bit different, but for me it's I would assume it's the same. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the same wow moment. Is this really happening? You know, so yeah.
Thank you. What do you remember most vividly about the day our kids were each born?
Uh, um, uh, I hope that the insurance kicks in. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm just joking. No, my point is, there's a lot of stressors. There's a lot of things to think about, right? Because, you know, again with pregnancy, but there's like so many components, right? So I think
With surrogacy specifically.
yes, right. It's like there's just so much going on, also up to the surrogacy, right? With the different legality stuff, and again, you don't necessarily know. You know, when I assume that when you do, you know, and again, I'm not judging, but like, you know, I assume that even in those, I don't know, 7 months or 6 months, when you start to go to the doctor, right? You create a relationship with the physician, you know, with the person that's going to help you give birth, and you might go visit the hospital in advance, right? Where things happening. Like, we didn't have neither of that, right? Like there's this level of unexpected. Plus, it happens usually again, but it might happen in a different state. You know, you might not even be familiar with the surroundings. Might probably be your first time you're visiting the city. So there's always this uncertainty, you know, and so it's almost like once this is happening, you're like, oh, okay, it's done, you know. But it's done in a it's positive, obviously, but all the build up, right? There's a huge build up, and the other thing is, again, every family is different, but we kept it, like, I call it semi-secret, in the sense is it was secret, but obviously we shared it with our family and so forth. So it's almost like a release, right? And you can imagine, right? Because Aliza was not visibly pregnant, right? You come back to the community, and wow, there's a baby that arrived. I remember, like, when we arrived here to our apartment building, right? Like the doorman didn't say anything because they're discreet, but suddenly you come with a baby but he doesn't remember, because I remember myself, when you in an apartment building, right? You see pregnant women going down the elevator, you try to help them out. Like, we don't have that part, and suddenly we come with a baby.
Well, I remember when we came back after our son was born, because we were staying in a hotel,
Right.
and we came back Sunday after being released from the hospital, and we were staying in the hotel till Monday.
Yeah.
And we had been at the hotel for 2 weeks
Right.
waiting, and we like strolled in with a stroller and a baby. We're like, we promised we didn't steal him. Like,
Right.
we were like, this is our baby.
Right.
We started like telling the front desk staff about surrogacy, and they're like, okay.
So my point is, there's all this that you're not keeping for yourself, but there's stuff that it's just in you, and then once the baby's born, you can breathe again, and you just continue your life, you know. But there's this kind of it's not a burden, but it's almost like a
Stressor.
like a stressor, right?
Hi, everyone. It's Amy. I just wanted to take a quick moment to say that if talking away the taboo means something to you, if you've listened to an episode and felt less alone, more seen, or more understood, please support us so we can continue doing this important work. Everything we offer, this podcast, our support groups, our resources, all of them are completely free. And that's intentional, actually, because we never want someone to have to choose between getting help and affording it. But truthfully, we can't do this without your help. So if you're in a position to give even just a little, it really helps keep us going. It helps someone else find the support that they need too. So please donate at iwassupposedtohaveababy.org/donate. It's really easy and it really makes a difference. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being part of this community.
Looking back now, is there anything you wish someone had told you as a husband entering this journey?
I mean, let me think about it. I mean, I don't think so. I'll tell you why. Because I think this is very personal, and everyone does it for different health reasons or reasons in general. So I think it's very personal, and every personality is different. I mean, I was friends with somebody who was going through fertility issues as well in general. So we were checking in with each other, but again, it was different experiences. So we didn't really share notes, but we were there for each other. But it doesn't, like that support mechanism, it doesn't have to be another father who is doing the same journey. It's just basically, I have good friends, so it's just good to have people around you that you can trust, and sometimes also good to have a friend who doesn't like pretend they have the answers, right? Just listen to my story and just, validate, acknowledge. And I think that's important, almost like whether it's going to therapy. I didn't used to go to therapy a lot. During the first pregnancy, I decided to go to a therapist, even if the therapist, I wouldn't go again. But it was very helpful just to have a neutral person to just talk to, share some challenges. It's just good to have somebody to talk to that doesn't necessarily, not that we don't talk to each other, but I also don't want to burden you. I don't want to add more from my challenges. So it's good to have a neutral person. I would say, for me, it was very helpful to have a therapist during intense times, right? There was a period early on where there was a question to what extent this fertility issues with me. And the challenging part was, why do we have to add another element? So it's good to just share it with a therapist and sort of try and navigate the situation. So I wouldn't necessarily having another father, but just another listener or support mechanism.
That's great. Has there been a moment or a conversation you've had with someone going through surrogacy that has felt particularly meaningful to you?
You mean another person?
Yeah, that you've given, support to somebody.
Right. So there was a situation where a grandparent, right? Again, a parent of somebody who has gone through, who has decided to go through a surrogacy journey. And it was very interesting because at the end of the day, it's the grandparent, right? It's the parent of the parent. So they also have to play a role because they can't really interfere. But it's almost I felt they came to me because I was a neutral broker. I was able to share my experience, and they were able to then convey it to their kids. And I was there for them. I didn't. They knew they could always call me, and there was some issues with, they were not so familiar with the halachic aspect. Again, I'm not an expert in this, but I was able to refer them to people, and it ended up being a successful journey. And for them, it was very interesting. For them, it's almost like. They became more observant in this process, right? And actually, a grandchild that wasn't born through surrogacy, a grandchild now goes to Jewish day school, and for them, it was like it's almost like this had to happen in order for other things to happen. So my point is, at the end of the day, this is the situation. You have to make the best out of it. just go with the flow. Obviously, it can be moments that are frustrated, moments you don't have control over, but try and make the best out of it, and try to make it a rich experience, a meaningful experience. And I would say for us, in a way, I would say, because we went through this, I don't take having children for granted. I'm not saying that if you didn't do surrogacy, but like, for me, like, I'm, you know, people say you must be tired. No, for me, if I'm tired, if I don't have a sleepless night because my kids were up, maybe it's easy now because I feel rested. But for me, it's wow. My kids needed me, right? My kids wanted me to be with them, and so this is for me very positive. Like I'm always there for my kids because I understand that it's just not granted. We have them, and we should cherish, and we should also become better people because your kids look up to you. So I think it has made me a better person, and a person more awareness of myself, what my strengths and weaknesses, and how I can improve myself every day.
Our kids definitely prefer you.
Maybe
They call for you
maybe
more
because
than
I say more yes and you say more no. Okay.
Maybe
So that's
what
okay.
it is. Maybe that's it. But it's okay. Honestly, if they're calling at 3:30 in the morning
Yes.
for you, I'm okay with that.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for listening to this conversation between Sam and I. We did it because we want people to understand that surrogacy is not just one person. It's not just about the surrogate. It's not just about the mom. It's about the couple going through the experience as well. And it puts a lot of stress on a couple for a variety of reasons. It could be the emotional piece, the financial piece, both combined. And it's important that if a couple is going through surrogacy, that they do have the right support in place to take care of themselves through the process. It is a really emotionally draining experience, but it's a beautiful experience. And we're very grateful for the children that we have and that we have each other as partners to have been able to do this together.
Right. And I would also say, just to conclude, I would say that this has also strengthened our marriage in many ways, because if we can overcome this, then we can overcome anything.
Definitely. Those are great words to end on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. If you have any comments about this episode or would like to suggest a future episode, please reach out at 917-382-0422 or send us an email at info@iwassupposedtohaveababy.org or info@iwsthab.org. And please don't forget to like, rate, and review so we can continue spreading the support to the wider Jewish community.